Hey, here's warm-up number 7. So I've got this diagram here, and I'm going to talk about ways to name the plane that's in the diagram. These can be a little tricky for people. So it's one way to name this is calling it plane Q. You can do that. If you look at the Q here, it doesn't have a little dot by it. So that means it's not the name of just a point. It's supposed to represent the whole plane. Okay, so that's okay if it doesn't have a dot by it. If it has just a letter in the corner, then that's meant to represent the entire plane. It can be a little confusing because you might think that the Q just goes with that point. I think if the book wanted you to talk about this as point Q, they'd still put a little circle there, even though it's at a corner. Okay. All right, so all of the other letters represent points on this plane. Okay, so let's talk about some other ways. And there's more than one correct answer in this list here. Okay. So what you want 3 points that are on the plane. But not only that, the 3 points on the plane, you have to be able to draw a triangle with them. So in other words, you don't want them lined up in a straight line. And I'll talk about that when I get to one of these that is lined up. Okay, but let's look at plane A, B, D. Plane A, A, B, and D. These are all on plane Q. I can see they're all on plane Q because these are solid lines. So that means that this line is supposed to be contained on the, it's not passing through the plane like this line is, okay? So all 3 of those points are on it. And hey, I can draw a little triangle with that. And this triangle would be a little piece of the bigger plane, right? So I do know that this is a valid, that one does work. I'm gonna circle the correct one. So we'll just cross out the ones that don't work, okay? And then plane E, B, C, the same kind of thing here. E, B, and C. Those are all on the plane. I can draw a little triangle, and this would be a little piece of the bigger plane, so that works as well. Okay. Now, if we look at F, E, B, okay, let's see. F, E, and B. Well, points E and B are on the plane, so those I could use as part of the name of the plane, but F is not. If you see this little dash part, that means that this line is poking through the plane from above and going below it there. So point F would be somewhere below the plane. So if the plane is my hand, point F would be down here because it's on a line that pokes through and would be down here. So I can't use that because point F is no good for me for naming that plane. It's not on that plane, okay? Plane A, B, C. Well, if you look at A, B, and C, here I'm going to put little boxes around these because I've already circled everything else. If you look at these 3, well, hey, all 3 of those are on plane Q, so it seems like they might work. But here's the thing. I'll use my hand again and pretend that this is the plane, and this can be the line that all 3 points A, B, and C are on. Well, yeah, all 3 of those points are on that plane. But I could swivel my hand and swivel the plane. There are other planes that would contain those 3 points. Okay? So that means that those 3 points are not going to determine that plane. That's different than the ones with the triangles that I drew earlier because there's only one plane that has those 3 points on it. But with A, B, and C, there are many planes because you can swivel the plane and get another plane that works, okay? So the points can't be linear because that's not going to determine that plane, okay? A and E are both on the plane, but there's only 2 points. So again, there are lots of different planes because I could draw different planes, like you could draw a plane going straight up and down that goes through those 2 points. So if there's just 2 points, it's not going to work. Plane D doesn't work. Yeah, D is on the plane, but you can't name it with one letter. With one point, I should say, really. The only exception is if you've got one letter that's in the corner that's not a point. But this is a point. 1 point's not enough. Okay? All right. Problem number 2. Let's name some opposite rays. So first off, a ray is one of these, right? You got a point, and then you've got part of a line. It goes on forever in one direction, okay? This is called the end point. I kind of think of it as the starting point of my ray as shooting off from there, but it's called the end point, okay? So opposite rays are gonna be going in opposite directions. So, but they also have to have the same end point. So the 2 rays that I have drawn here, I haven't named them, but these would be opposite rays because they're going in opposite directions with the same endpoint, okay? So if we look at this ray, that's going to be opposite to this one, okay? So some people, let's name those two because that's actually my correct answer. So you name it with the endpoint first. So you're going to go BC would be the red one there. Okay, Ray BC, and there's a little symbol for it. Okay, and then the other one that I drew in pencil here would be BA. Some people might call that AB, but AB would look like this, right? BA because you named the endpoint where it kind of shoots off from first. Okay, so this is my correct answer. Some people are going to say, wait a second, what about like this plane, this ray, and this one? Those are opposite rays. They're going in opposite directions. Yeah, they are going opposite directions, but they're not opposite rays because they overlap. They don't have the same endpoint. One of them has an endpoint at A, one of them has an endpoint at C. Okay, so if they overlap, they're not opposite rays. Like these two also would not be, these two would not be opposite rays because there's a gap. Okay, so you can't have an overlap, you can't have a gap. They have to have the exact same endpoint. So that's really my only options because I need a second letter to name my rays. So that's it. Okay. All right. I'll see you next time.